fair diamonds. It is making me absolutely crazy.
Come after me! I'm a man! I'm 40! I ain't scared of you. Or who we thought they were. And we let them all go. You can't have my cornbread, that's for damn sure. And if you try to take my cornbread, part 2 of my killing spree won't begin up in here on your ass right now. Think about my cornbread, get the taste out your mouth.
Well, greetings and salutations. You know who it is. It's me, the King, David B., and this is the David Brewer Show. New title, new times, new everything. Not really, but this is produced by none other than Jackwave. You know, Jackwave is my production company. I folded what was once the title of my show into my production company. As I'm learning to produce, I figured it made more sense to make Jackwave into the production company and then make my name, you know, the title of the show. And I thank you for joining me. Those who are first-time listeners, subscribe to my Facebook page. Just subscribe to, follow me on Instagram. What's my Instagram handle there? It is Jackwave. Follow me on Twitter. You know what? Don't follow me on Twitter. I don't really use Twitter as much as I want to. But I'm certain you can find my stuff on Twitter. I believe that my name is still Jackwave there too. Is there any other place else that I'm at? YouTube, Facebook, you can go to Jackwave. It's business page or whatever you want to call it. I think it's Jackwave. You can follow me on Facebook. And you can also, that's where you can pick up the what do you call it? You see, he's like, well, let me turn this off because this guy is not talking like he knows what he's talking about. You're right. I have no scripts in front of me. There's no papers in front of me. I'm not reading off a prompt or reading off of paper. I'm not reading down. You say, you're not very professional with this, man. And I say, you know what I am? I am as professional as I need to be, given the fact that I am talking to you from my own studios about what the heck I want to talk about. And I wish I had the soundbite of, I'm holding the microphone. So you will listen to every damn word I got to say. Forgive me, I'm sorry. That's the only, I said the D word. Sorry about that. I will say nigga from time to time when I'm talking though. So that's why I put the explicit checkbox. That's why I checked the explicit box. But yes, you can you can go to a Jackwave YouTube page. I also have another YouTube page called Sound Doctrine, and that's where I talk more about it's all about Jesus and God on that one. And you know me, I talk about Jesus, I talk about God, I talk about church. And today we're going to talk about church and God too. We're going to talk about a lot of stuff. First off, we're going to talk about what's really been the popular topic within this past weekend. It's been the Central Park 5 case and the Netflix limited series of that case. It's called what's it called again? It's called When They See Us. When They See Us. And it's always a catchy title at this point in time because we're dealing with a lot of these days. We've had many acts of violence against blacks and browns on camera. Whereas before it used to be, essentially behind closed doors. It's on camera now, a full camera because like I said, everybody has a production studio in their pocket with their phone if they use it properly. I'm still looking for a video editing equipment on my phone, software app on my phone, so that I can edit my videos better and cut them for, Instagram and stuff like that. But yes, but when they see us coming out this past weekend, the story of the young men in the Central Park, 1989, April 19th, 1989. The story of the young black men who were accused and arrested and charged and convicted and then later released and freed and exonerated for a rape and brutal assault against a young white woman in New York City. These young men, Corey Wise, Yusuf Salam, Kevin Richardson, Antron McCray, and Santana. I can't think of his name right now. Why his name slipped my mind? These young men were ultimately Raymond Santana. These young men were ultimately put on trial, facing a number of years for a crime they didn't commit. Four of the five actually served their time, and Corey Wise was the only one who had to go through 13 years, nearly 14 years of brutality in the prison system, adult prison system. He went in there as a 16-year-old. I believe he was 16. He might have been 17, but I believe he went in there as a 16-year-old. No, he was 16. He went in there as a 16-year-old. And ultimately was abused, battered, beat within inches of his life. I think it messed up how he walks today, how he functions today, and I think that the $41 million that that they received together as a group, $41 million that they received together in the settlement that they had. Ultimately, I think that I'm not sure if he would have got $41 million by himself. I'm not sure if that would be enough. You know what I'm saying? I think Corey Wise, and what's so funny about, I should say funny, I don't like using that word. I don't use that word, but what's crazy about that is that he just went down there, to help his friend, like to be kind of, to stand by his friend. He wasn't accused. He wasn't on the list. He wasn't, really, for what it's worth, he wasn't seen as one of the ones who actually did anything. His confession almost, really makes absolutely no sense. If you even look at the tapes, the confession makes no sense because he wasn't accused or anything. Nobody seen anything. Nobody heard anything. I mean, Corey Wise wasn't even in the midst. They just threw him in there, just because he happened to be there. And like this whole little, we're delving into this topic right now, but think about it, that this was, 30 years ago. This happened 30 years ago. And there wasn't enough public outcry then, because then black people all across America felt that some of these people, and I say black and brown people, black, that means black Americans and Hispanic Americans, Mexican Americans, I say Hispanic because I say Puerto Rican. I'm not actually sure what Raymond Santana was, if he was Puerto Rican or if he was Mexican. But he was Hispanic. But I know that there just wasn't enough outcry back then, given the facts of the case. 1990, 1991, I can say that I remember vaguely hearing about it, but then I don't remember hearing anything about it. Like I said, I remember vaguely hearing about it and seeing it on TV, and then it kind of went away. Parents didn't talk about it. Family didn't talk about it. Nobody talked about it. Nobody would say anything about it. And they fast forward to 30 years later, and we're hearing about that the people who are everything. If you have Netflix, you need to watch it. If you don't have Netflix, I'm certain that you're going to hear all the stories about it. I mean, it's really the retelling of what happened 30 years ago, and you can kind of go through that on YouTube. You can go from the real people without seeing the adaptation of the true story, and it was a very good adaptation because I watched the Netflix, but I also went back and watched all of not say all, but a lot of the newsreels and a lot of the newsreels and videos that were available. I watched those, and I also watched like the real life things that happened, and I also read some of the things that were made back then. It's amazing how close or how the filmmakers or those who made the film, how they got it right on the head. I don't think there was anything that they missed, that they kind of just added in and threw it in for cinematic effect. Everything was pretty much dead on. You say, well, they weren't there behind closed doors with the cops, but by all accounts and all the witness statements, because it was more than just those five. It was those five. Another one, I think there was two other ones that were actually brought in, and then all the kids who were brought down to the station. So there was more than just those five that were essentially accosted. But those five were the ones who, I guess, succumbed to the pressure. We don't know how many people actually were beaten, we don't really know. We know that they had 7. I think originally, I heard that they had 7 guys in there for that specific thing. One of the guys was close. They put him on video because they must have wrote out something that he was going to admit to. I think his name was Steve Lopez. He was going to admit to something, and then when he got to the video, he said, I didn't do anything. I didn't see anything. I wasn't there." So they couldn't really follow through with that plan. They were going to, the plan that they were going to use there. It's riveting. I think that anybody who has a pair of eyes and a pair of ears needs to watch it and listen to it, because I believe it's American history. It's American history, and it's a firm grasp and a look at how those in power can abuse that power with those whom essentially have none. I'm going to look at it again. I've seen it, I think, twice already. I'm going to watch it again. I'm going to watch more news because it's an interesting story, and I think that you have to take it seriously, and you have to examine, not just watch it, but examine it. At least that's what I'm going to do. I like to analyze things, and that's what I plan to do some more. So I can talk about it some more, okay? But it kind of gets me to move on to the next point. As I'm talking about, those in power, those who have money, those who are important. I want to move over to from that extreme to another extreme, which is Jay-Z becoming a billionaire. Black man. All over the papers talking about, everybody say papers, but all over the internet, we're discussing Jay-Z and his billionaire status. And it's amazing. It's an amazing feat. Like I said earlier, I was talking to my wife. I said, I don't think that Jay-Z would have got there to a billionaire status without Beyonce. I believe her popularity made him popular. And you say, well, what about Jay-Z's popularity with her? I think Beyonce would have been Beyonce regardless of Jay-Z. I think Jay-Z has Jay-Z was big. There's no question about that. He was a popular guy, but I think that her popularity and being with her, who in a sense, quote unquote, is probably like one of the most sought after, females as far as, she's really good looking and stuff like that. I was never a Beyonce. I was always into Kelly Rowland myself. So I was never, as far as Destiny's Child, I was always, if I choosing one, I would have went with Kelly Rowland. Still to this day, that's who I would choose. Regardless, Beyonce was single and I was wealthy enough to go talk to her, and I was single and I was wealthy enough, I wouldn't talk to Beyonce. I still would choose Kelly Rowland. In the single status, if we are single and everybody's willing and able, I would choose Kelly Rowland. So, but I think Beyonce's popularity essentially made Jay-Z popular. As far as business decisions, I honestly believe Beyonce is a very good businesswoman. And I think that, Jay-Z is a good businessman. And I think the collaboration of the two made for that, to say a little bit. I think, because you got to think about it like this. Jay-Z amassed a lot of wealth in the midst of his marriage. So the idea is that he's not going to, if he ever decides to leave Beyonce, he's not leaving with all that he had. There's some contingencies that are going to take place. Okay. So, but my thing about this is that while we're talking about the Central Park Five, and then we talk about Jay-Z being a bit, what is more pertinent? My thing is about talking about Jay-Z being a billionaire. Yet the black community has no real footing, no real stance. Because I remember some years ago that I forget, there was something that took place. I think it was at the beginning of these. This was after the Central Park case and after the Rodney King beating and after OJ. But I think this was one of the first, like, Tamir Rice and what was the young man's name? There was a man, a little young boy. I'm not sure where they. I know Tamir Rice was. I remember his name. But this was, I think it was around that time. Tamir Rice, and there was the one in Missouri, right? And I can't think of his name right now. But during, when these shootings started happening, you had a meeting. I heard about this meeting of black. The meeting of the black people of wealth and means who got together in secret, mind you. They got together in secret, which is a good thing. Okay, no. Listen now, good thing, because you got to think that back in the revolutionary days of this country, if you read, if you go to history, that's how they got together was in secret. They had to get together in secret. Because they didn't want to know, they couldn't lead on that they were doing anything, to fight back necessarily. But my thought is this: you take all the people with the money, all the black people with the big money, and the question then goes to: are we seeking, as black people, are we seeking to do anything to gain a political, you got to use the word power, political power in this country? Are we doing anything, to gain that? Are we just amassing fortunes and not helping helping the community in which you came from? And when I say community, I don't mean, Jay-Z came from, where'd he go? Marcy, Brooklyn, New York. I don't. You understand what I'm saying? I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the entire black community, a footing, as far as political structure is concerned. This is the issue with the Black Panthers, right? Is that not that they were some radical, unorganized, foolish group. It was that they were radical, that's for sure, but they were organized. And they got together, and they didn't call themselves Black Panthers, period. They call themselves the Black Panther party. So that would count. That would, am I using the right word? That would denote they were seeking some type of footing in the political structure to make, steps there, and they're using the American laws to gain footing in the political structure of this country. That's what J. Edgar Hoover was essentially calling a threat to the country, was that black people shouldn't have any type of political power. That's what was terrifying to the head of the FBI at that point in time, was that black people could, amass a group and become unreasonable to work with, in a sense, and then become demanding and say, you're going to give us this, where you have to come to a table and talk. It's not just this two people talking back and forth to each other. It's, no, you got to talk to me too now. So, and that's the, it's in a sense that you say that's the danger in that. Yes, there's a danger in it. There's a danger in it. But as you think about the people who had that secret meeting, people didn't want to give their names. People didn't want to say who they were. But I think it's interesting that you had the secret meeting, but you don't really know. And that's the thing, is you don't know what happened from it. And many of us in the black community aren't privy to it. We weren't given a handout. We weren't given an invitation. It's a bunch of rich people getting together talking about what they should do. And you think about the revolutionary days, it wasn't a bunch of rich people getting together talking about what should they do. In the revolutionary days, if you think about it, think about the revolutionary America. Revolutionary America, you had the poor people talking about what they were going to do. The rich people, the wealthy people in America, yes, they wanted to fight back. They wanted to fight back because they wanted to, make good on their what do you say, the back end, or the their dividends. They wanted to, that's what they wanted to increase. So, but it wasn't the same as, I would say they had funding, but it was essentially those who didn't have. It was I would say it was the rich and the poor working together, because you got to think revolutionary time that we were going against the British. So, right. So going against, we had the rich and the poor working together for a common goal. Essentially, it was a common goal. I think that the problem, that's why I'm saying the problem with having a bunch of rich black people, many of the rich, wealthy black people getting together and talking with each other without the, you say, quote unquote, the unrich black people, is almost a purposeless meeting, because you're going to need everybody to help, in that sense, if you plan on doing something. But I'll move on from that. That's getting into more political talk, and maybe it's even to more radical talk. And how dare this nigga come in here and talk about having a party and some political power? And that's really what it's all about. That's what they have a problem with black people having in this country, is political. Anything that has to do with power or political power, that's the issue. But we can move on. Let's talk about something political. marijuana. Okay, let's talk about some marijuana stuff. No, because I'm reading that Illinois is legalizing recreational marijuana. Minnesota has decriminalized marijuana, which is, I think, it's pretty close to becoming recreational in Minnesota as well. There's another group. Michigan has legalized marijuana recreational use. 10 states have legalized it. 33 states have. And I think Illinois is about to be the 11th state to legalize recreational use. 33 states have made it legal for medicinal reasons. And so there, I read an article talking about Wisconsin being kind of an island in the middle of all these states that are legalizing marijuana, and Wisconsin is talking like as if, they're legalizing that because those states are democratic, and this is pretty much what it says in the article. They're legalizing it because those are democratic states, and those things work in those, it can work in or being able to legalize that worked in Michigan because they put it on a bill, and Illinois needed it because they're having budget issues. In Minnesota, I don't even know the reason why I forget the reason why they said Minnesota. They couldn't use those same stupid reasons for Minnesota because Minnesota's budget's pretty good, and and I don't think it was a bill that was, it wasn't put on a voting thing, a voting bill to vote for during an election. So what I hear Wisconsin saying is, we're Republican. We're a Republican state. And because we're Republican, we don't want, I gotta be real politically incorrect. Or I should say politically incorrect. I mean, politically incorrect on this part, and I'm going to be really, really racist. Because this is what I believe they're saying. We don't want these niggas in here smoking weed. We don't want these niggas in this state smoking weed. We don't want these niggas to get away with anything. That's what I believe Wisconsin is saying. I honestly believe that's what Wisconsin is saying. We don't want these niggers in here. We want to be able to lock up our niggers. Okay? Now, if we legalize that, we can't lock up niggas like we want to lock them up. Do you hear me? If we legalize that, because none of the reason that they give is a good reason as to why they're not legalizing it. The only reason why any state, and I'm going to say any state, that hasn't legalized or decriminalized marijuana is because it then takes money, in a sense, out of the prison system. It takes away from the opportunity to put people in jail for a low-level offense. It takes away from the ability to search and seize things from smelling, quote unquote, smelling something. It's idiotic, is what it is. The reason why these, in a sense, it is all the states that are not decriminalizing it or legalizing it in any way are quote unquote Republican states, and they're not doing it based on it's not necessary. You have to think about it like this. There was a time that alcohol was illegal. Prohibition was real. The organized crime skyrocketed during that time, right? During the illegal phase of alcohol, that's when organized crime skyrocketed to the point where it's still here. They've gone to war with it, quote unquote. I'm going to say to a certain extent, they've gone to war with organized crime, but they couldn't take it out of the fabric of America for the simple reason is it's institutionalized. It's here now. There's no way you can take that out anymore. There's no way you can get it out anymore. So what do you do now? The fake war on drugs that they created locks up a certain amount of people. But like I said, to essentially seem as if you're doing something, let's make a group of these people villains. Look, I watch a lot of stuff and I read a lot of stuff. You got to think about it like this. So everybody has, and I know I have a little bit of time here. I have no commercials, so I'm talking straight through. This is the David Brewer Show. I'm King David. Look, everybody has an area in which they cover in America. Every culture pretty much has an area that they cover in America. As far as I'm talking about the garment industry, transportation, law enforcement, I would say television and film. What do you say? I was law enforcement, but what's the other one I'm thinking of? Just like lawyers and judges. That would be what? Just law? The judicial system. Okay. Everybody has all cultures have it. The only culture that doesn't have a footing in anything other than music is black people. And essentially, black people don't have the footing in music that we should because we were inventors and creators of genres of music. However, those in power were the white people. Those who held, they say I believe a lot of them were Jewish, held a lot of the owners of a lot of companies, record companies, were not black people. We weren't allowed to own anything. We weren't allowed, we were working for cars. We were working for, a place to stay, things like that. So while we created stuff, we didn't own anything because we weren't allowed to have the ownership of what we created. You would think that black women's hair, the black beauty, is a $9 billion a year industry, yet the main component or the main distributor of black women's hair is not a black person. Yeah, go figure. That we don't even control what we have, what we use. We don't control it in any way, shape, or form. We're the only culture in this country that has no control over what we actually use, what was actually operated around us. We have no footing anywhere. And we've been locked out of a lot of places. So the interesting part about, like I said, the whole marijuana thing, even in that, we're being locked out of the idea of a lot of the opportunity that we can become legal distributors of marijuana in these legal places. And if you legalize it everywhere, that means you essentially have to let all of the people that you've put in jail out. I'm putting in jail on these marijuana charges. You have to let them out of prison. You have to let them out of jail. Essentially, I don't know if you have to exonerate them, but I would think there would be a lot of exoneration going on. I would think even at least if, say, lower level offenses, you would have to exonerate them and allow them to be, once again, citizens of the country who can vote, who can get jobs, who can be, productive tax-paying citizens. It makes sense if the country wants to make money. That makes sense. For the country to thrive, we need everyone working together in some way, shape, or form. We need everybody working with a purpose, not just locking people up. That's how I feel. Like I said, the marijuana laws are remain in these few states. What was it? It's like 17 states. They remain in these states only because they don't want to let go of. No, I want to criminalize the poor people. You say the poor people, and the colored folks. Let's be honest about that. Okay, please. Yes. Okay. Thank you. King David said so. This is the David Brewer Show. Well, let's end on something positive. Like what? NBA basketball finals. End on that. NBA basketball finals. Pardon me as I wash my hands. NBA basketball finals. What's going on? Toronto Raptors, Golden State Warriors playing for the finals. The NBA Game 3 tonight. Raptors won the first game. I guess people said they were surprised. They weren't supposed to win a game. I wasn't surprised. I wasn't too surprised because, to me, you have to make it a little bit. Maybe the Warriors took them lightly. Maybe they was like, there you go. Maybe they did. But I honestly don't believe the Warriors are going to lose this. The Raptors aren't seasoned enough. Kawhi Leonard is he's been to the playoffs. He's been to the championships. He's won with the Spurs. So they have the right guy there as a foundation in Toronto. And this is their first finals. They got there. If they can pull it off, more power to them. I don't think they're going to pull it off. I think they're going to lose in, I would say 5 or 6, but I'm more so leaning closer to 5. Golden State Warriors are just, I would say they're on the verge. They're not a juggernaut team. They're just tough to beat. I think they're beatable, but they're just tough. And I think it's funny because people are now building these quote-unquote super teams and say, well, how does Golden State have all these superstar people? You got to think DeMarcus Cousins is injury prone. Nobody wanted him. Kevin Durant really just wanted to play against the guys or play with the guys. It's like you can't beat them, join them. Kevin Durant is the only one that kind of came to the team, and he's injured right now. So Kevin Durant came to the team. They didn't need Kevin Durant to win a championship. They already won championships without Kevin Durant. I believe they won 2 before Kevin Durant got there, didn't they? I don't know. Whether or not they did, I know they won 1 before he got there. So they didn't really need Kevin Durant to be champions. Kevin Durant needed them. Draymond Green was not some fantastic, awesome. He was a very good college basketball player for Michigan State. I liked Draymond Green when he played there. I think he won a national title there with Michigan State. Steph Curry, coming out of college, was not this juggernaut guard. He was not the first one picked. Klay Thompson was not a juggernaut guard. These guys have got band together, and I say Mark Jackson put these guys together. I have to say it like that. Mark Jackson put these guys together and created a fantastic team. Steve Kerr came in and added his expertise and tutelage to them, and they became champions. I believe Mark Jackson put the team together. Steve Kerr, brought it all together to become champions. You understand what I'm saying? So it was pieced together. Andre Iguodala, who was considered, a lost cause from the 76ers. You can't then say that these guys are, you're putting together LeBron James, Kevin Love, Kyrie Irving. I'm talking about the Cleveland. They put together this massive group of stars to go against this team because these guys are actually playing exceptionally well with one another. They've built something there. They're continuing to build it there. And if Steve Kerr, I believe, is a smart guy, and he's not going to break up something that's going good. There's no reason to break up that team or that nucleus of the team, let them run their course, and they can be the Boston Celtics of this generation. You say from the 1950s Boston Celtics, because people are trying to amass these crazy teams to go against a team who just plays good as a team. Period. It's not about everybody being an all-star. Everybody came and worked to become all-stars. You understand? They weren't all all-stars before they got there. They weren't the greatest players before they got there. They're not even the greatest players now. They just play well together under that system that they're in. And that's what a team is all about. Honestly, think about it like this. Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen were the two guys on that Bulls squad from 1989 until 1999. Okay? Now think about it like this. I think it was 1990 when Scottie Pippen joined the team. But Michael Jordan by himself didn't win. When Scottie Pippen joined, now it was a whole different ball game. And you had, back in the early 90s, you had B.J. Armstrong, you had John Paxson, you had, what's the center's name? Will Perdue came later. He had the funny looking shot. I can't think of his name right now. But you had Horace Grant. Horace Grant was not a perennial all-star. He was a good, solid power forward. B.J. Armstrong wasn't a perennial all-star. He was a solid point guard. John Paxson was a shooter. You had Michael Jordan, really, and Scottie Pippen, who were the perennial all-stars on that squad. It wasn't some group of... Think about this. I think about this when Michael Jordan left for those couple years. Scottie Pippen had a good run by himself. You gotta think, one of the best. I think they were like 68 and. I might be off by a little bit. They were like 68 and 14, or 64 and 18, something like that. They won over 60 games when Michael Jordan was gone. I think about it. Tony Kukoc was there. That's when Tony Kukoc got there. But they won over 60 games, I think, in 2 years in a row. But they won over 60 games when Michael Jordan was gone. Got to the Eastern Conference Finals when Michael Jordan was gone. So you have to understand that they had a good nucleus there. Even when Michael Jordan wasn't there, they went to the brink of the championship game, of the championship NBA finals. So I don't, you don't underestimate, and nobody can say who was on that team when Michael Jordan left, other than Scottie Pippen and Tony Kukoc. Nobody can really, there's not a whole lot of people. There was no Will Perdue, B.J. Armstrong, Horace Grant, all these, random people. All these random people, but there really wasn't any all-stars there. They were just a bunch of guys who were coached well in the right system. Scottie Pippen was really the only all-star there when Michael Jordan left, yet they still got to the Eastern Conference Finals playing against the New York Knicks. Anybody remember that? I mean, it's... So I can't stand when I hear people talk about the Warriors as if there's some stacked team that was put together and, how you going to have this many people? Those are people who don't know about basketball, who don't know about sports, period, I think. Stop it. It's garbage. This is the David Brewer Show. Thank you for joining me. Come back. Listen to me again. I'm the best. Well, I'm a little bit of the best, and I've got to pat myself on the back. How about that? I appreciate you listening to me. Follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube, Facebook, and I will see you, and I will talk to you soon. This is the David Brewer Show, brought to you by Jockwave.